Okay, hello. I think I am live again. Just gonna check it again. Going to the old YouTube. Watching the old YouTube. I'm gonna watch myself on TV. Okay,
Yep,
hello.
all right. So this is live. Hi, folks. Welcome back. This is part 2 of a deep dive into the using the Quest 3 headset with Godot 4 to do things like make VR applications, XR and AR and MR, all the R's, and hand tracking. And Passthrough. We're trying to make specifically, right, what we just, if you watched the first video, you saw me sort of fumble around with the Oculus Quest, the MetaQuest Link app, which is used for establishing a link between a Windows PC and your Quest headset. And if you do that, you can successfully sort of stream VR projects from Godot. You can run them just directly onto the headset over Wi-Fi. So that's pretty good if you're building just a VR application. Totally VR based. If you want to use the Forward Plus renderer and have better graphics on your VR application, that's a good choice for that. But as we saw, you're not able to do hand tracking and you're not able to do pass-through. I believe that's true. I could be wrong, but I think it's because both of those sets of functionality are running on the headset itself, and those aren't getting streamed back to Godot on the PC. So if we want to do something like that, we need to take a different approach. We also need to take this different approach if you are developing on a Mac computer, for instance, or if you're developing on a Linux computer. Currently, the Oculus Quest Link app is not available for those platforms, so you can't do that anyway. So the next way you can really sort of build projects for the Quest 3 is by building them and deploying them as Android applications. And so in order to walk through that, I'm going to go back to the documentation. We were already looking at this, this setting up XR page, and if we go to this next page, we'll see deploying to Android page. Okay, so as we can see, right, most standalone headsets run on Android, and OpenXR support is making its way to those platforms, which is great. In order to build and deploy an Android application to an XR headset, you need to be set up your computer to just build and deploy Android applications in general, right? So the plus side, the downside of this approach is that there's a bunch more things we're going to have to install and set up. But the plus side is that, firstly, once you set it up, it's a lot more reliable than the Oculus Quest Link app, and you can also set up your Godot environment to build and deploy Android applications in general. So once you do this, you're also very easily able to make Android phone apps or tablet apps or whatever. And again, right, if you're doing this in the future, I would check the documentation. I would go online and see what the latest and greatest requirements are for building and deploying Android applications, because they're always changing. But at the time of recording, March 11th, 2024, yeah, that's right. You need a couple of things. You need to install the OpenJDK 17. You need to install Android Studio. And then you need to do these things like creating a debug key store and configuring the path of your SDK to Godot. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through as much of that as I can. I've already installed these programs, so I can't literally install them again, but I'll show you where. We'll sort of step through the process. So the first thing you want to do is actually we're going to go to this other Godot page. This is the documentation for deploying to Android for XR devices, but it's actually easier to just start with going to the documentation for deploying to Android devices in general, because this has all the links that you need. So the first thing we're going to get is we're going to go to the OpenJDK 17. So I'm going to click this and go to here. And then what you're going to want to do is, the JDK is the, oh my God, I just had it in my mind. It's the Java Development Kit, I think, and the JRE is the Java Runtime Environment. You don't need the JRE, you just need the JDK, and you're going to want to download it for whatever platform you are running on. So if you're running on a Mac and you have an Arch 64-bit system configuration, you're going to want to install that one. If you're on an x64, you're going to want to install that one. If you don't know what type of system configuration you have, just Google it. Just say, like, how do I find my, how do I tell if my computer is x64 or What was the other one? I always forget this stuff. I know what it is, but I always forget. So I have to Google it anyway. So x64 or x86. Or x86. Googling it. Right. Go to Start and Settings. Select System and About. Let's try that. Settings. System. About. There we go. Where is it? Where is it? It's a 64-bit processor, right? It's x64. There you go. So this is an x64-based processor. Okay. If I were on a Mac, how would I do this if I'm on a Mac? Let's see. Because we have a difference between x64 or Arch64. So I'm going to search. I'm pretty sure Arch64 is. That sounds like that's the new M1 chips, I think. But let's check. I haven't been on a Mac in a minute. Mac, how do I tell if it's Arch64? About this Mac. So you want to go to About this Mac, look for the item chip, and then if it says M1, M2, or M3, then you have an Apple Silicon-based ARM architecture. So that's the Arch64 option. Okay. That's what that stands for. So if you are installing the OpenJDK 17 and you're on a Mac and you have the new M1 Macs, you're going to want to download this Arch64. If you're on an older Mac, you want to download the x64. If you're on Windows, pick your choice and just download the package installer or the MSI and just download and install it like any other application. Okay, once you have it installed, let's see, we might not even be able to figure it. I have the installer, but you just want to download and install it just like a regular application. Okay, so that's one program that we need to install. Let's go back to exporting for Android. The next thing you're going to need to download and install are the Android Studio version. Currently, this says version 4.1 or later. So the way you can get that is we go to Download Android Studio. Just click download. Oh my God, Download Android Studio Iguana. Click this big button and download the program. Once you download it and install it, Android Studio, you should be able to launch it just like any other application, and it'll boot on up. If you are booting it up for, oh, that's not true. I guess if you run into this dialog, follow this rabbit hole. Let's see. It thinks I'm missing things. I don't like that. I'll just hit next. That's fine. Finish. All right, I guess I'm downloading things. Okay, don't be like me. Follow the instructions. Specifically, the instructions that you should follow are they are right over here. You want to follow these instructions. So when you download and install Android Studio for the first time, it's going to prompt you to install the software development kit. Okay. Also, if you've already installed the no, I don't want to install this. I just want to show you the SDK part. I'm going to cancel. I'm going to assume that this is fine. I know, but it's not that big a deal. Can't be that big a deal. Great. Once you download and initialize Android Studio, that whole thing that you just saw shouldn't happen. But what you should get to is an area that looks like this. You can click on More Actions and go down to the SDK Manager. This is going to help you download and install all the correct like Android SDKs that you need to be able to bundle things together into Android applications. Okay, and this part, I really, really recommend just stepping through it very slowly and following precisely what's written on the Godot website, because I do suspect that this will be different in the future. And I'm just doing what's on there right now. So what you got to do is go to the Android Studio, get the Android Studio, and you have to follow these instructions. So if there's any, you want to particularly look for the required packages. So you need to download all of the required packages. That includes the Android SDK build tools. So I'm going to open up this SDK tools, and yeah, I'll just toggle all these so you can see it. You're going to want to get the Android SDK build tools. Specifically, what you want to get is version 30.0.5 or later. Sorry, there's a bunch of different, right? This is why you really need to step through it slowly. There's the Android SDK platform tools, the Android SDK build tools, the Android SDK platform, the Android SDK command line tools, the CMake, and the NDK. Okay, so if we're looking at the Android SDK build tools, according to the documentation as of the time of recording, it wants specifically version 33.0.2. 33.0.2. So what you do is you can, if you're getting it, if you're here for the first time, it'll probably be blank like this. So you're going to want to open it up and go grab 33.0.2. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to install that and we'll see what happens. So that I'm actually going to uninstall these. But you want to install 33.0.2. Again, in the future, if this has a different number, I would install the number that you see there. But they should all be in this drop-down list, okay? The next thing you want to do is you want to get the Android SDK platform. So that is actually down here, the Android SDK platform tools. That's version 35. And that one is 30.04 or later. So that looks good to me. Then you want to get the Android SDK platform 33. So that's back here in platforms. You want to go and get platform 33. That's why I picked tiramisu. But again, if that changes, pick the number that Godot suggests. Then you want to go to CMake, and you want to get CMake version this one. Oh, I have the wrong CMake, and it's been fine for me. So maybe it'll be fine for you, but let's follow the letter of the law. Let's get the right CMake. Let's get rid of the wrong CMake. And then let's go to the NDK and also find the NDK and get, man, I'm really breaking the law here. Version 2.8, what is his naming convention? 2.865. All right, we're gonna get that one and we're gonna unget that one. What I will say is, I guess I had done it wrong and I had gotten some of the wrong ones and it worked fine for me. So this might all be a little bit overkill. You probably just need these things. You need them to be more current than the latest ones. But there is a chance that if you're watching this further in the future, you know, you just want to stay in sync. Follow what the docs say is what I suggest. So you want to toggle all these preferences, and then when you're ready, you want to hit, ooh, it's a tricky one. Is it OK or is it apply? Let's find out, folks. I'm going to click OK. Yes, and it's going to tell me it's going to apply these changes, so it's going to delete these other versions, and it's going to install these versions, and it's going to tell me how much it's going to cost me data-wise, and I'm going to hit OK. And notably, too, you want to look up here and see the path to which, where all this is getting installed, okay? And ideally, it's somewhere like this. It's going to be in your home directory, app data, local, Android SDK. It'll be different on every computer, on every operating system, obviously. But we'll see. And I really hope that this doesn't doink up my ability to make projects. But it shouldn't, because I'm following the documentation. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. In the meantime, is there anything we can do in the meantime? You can, yeah, I guess you can install all this stuff via the command line. And you can do it by just sort of using this guy, this one-liner. So that's if you'd prefer to do it that way. But once we get up and running with having all these programs installed, what we need to do is we need to create a debug key store, okay? And a debug key store is a file. I guess it's just a file that Android apps need in order to work as debuggable apps, like that can easily be sort of moved around and installed. So the way that you can generate one, you can use the JDK that we just installed to generate it, and you can just use this one-liner. What I would do is copy and paste this one-liner. Then I'm going to go to a folder that I like, that I know where it is. So I'm going to go and open up my File Explorer. And you can do all this the same on a Mac or Linux. You just use the command line. But I'm going to go ahead and go to the desktop. Nah, I don't want to go to the desktop. I'm going to go to my desktop is a mess. Everywhere's a mess. I'm going to go to this. You know what? I have this special folder for this already. So I'm just going to pick this folder that I know I like. This is my Godot folder. And I have this Android app. And I'm going to make a new folder called debug key store. And I'm going to open this folder. And this is going to be where I want to save it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a terminal at this location, which I forget how to do on Windows. There we go. Open a terminal. Then I'm just going to paste in this one-liner and hit return. And it's going to generate it. And you'll see there it is. There's my debug key store file. Okay. And the reason why you want to go through all this trouble to finding it, you know, to picking a nice folder for it to live in, is you need to then go point Godot to it. So don't just open up your terminal and create it and not remember where you created it. I would make sure you know where you are before you create this thing via the terminal. Okay. So I'm going to go back to Android and check on the progress of this. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm going to click background. Maybe that will make my problems go away. I'm not entirely sure. If I were you, I would wait to install it all before going on with the tutorial, but I've got dinner to eat, so I'm going to move ahead in the tutorial, and you can do so at your peril. But I would really wait and download and install all this stuff, and then, you know, I would just wait for this. Man, I don't know where it went now. Now I have no idea how far it is. That's interesting. It's just in the background. It's invisible. Maybe it's here? Okay, yeah, there it is. No? Okay, well, yeah, just wait and install it. That's probably better to do. Anyway, once you have theoretically done all that, we're going to go back now to Godot, where we have our basic project from the first video. If you didn't see the first video, all you need for XR to be up and running in Godot is you need an XR origin, a camera, a left controller, which is assigned to the left hand, and a right controller, which is assigned to the right hand. Okay, and then you also need a node on one of these, on your root scene or somewhere in your scene. You need this little boilerplate code. You basically need to initialize the OpenXR interface. And then once it's initialized, you need to turn off vsync and you need to set the viewport to using XR. Okay? But when you do all that, right, that's how we get to where we are. Now, that's how that's what you need to sort of do to initialize VR in Godot. What we're going to do now is we're going to just step through the rest of this tutorial to set it up to export to Android. Okay? So, what you want to do first is this is actually an editor setting, so this is going to be true for every time you use Godot. And then you want to, so that's why that's why setting it up this way is nice, because you can make any sort of Android or XR applications you want. You only have to set this up once. So you go down to export settings. So down in export, we open the Android tab. And then specifically what we want to do is we want to locate the SDK path. So if we open this up, we'll see that here it is, an app, users, my name, app data, local, Android SDK, right? And that is exactly the same as this directory, right? And if we go to this directory on my computer, wouldn't you know it, you will see the one, the only Android SDK, right? So here it is. It's this folder. You basically want to point Godot to this folder so that Godot can look up all this stuff in this folder and make use of it when it's going to go and build your Android applications. Okay, so you want to, I'll just show you the process again, right? You click it, you go to, and now of course I lost it. I don't know where it is. Oh God, why did I do that? Here's me. Here's my home folder. I'm gonna find app data, where, oh where has my app data gone? Oh where could it be? Is it in Android? No, don't be fooled, it's not in a dot folder, it is in app data. Come on. Please hold while I look at every single folder in my home folder to try and find the right folder. Good Lord, what is my life? Is it higher up? Doesn't make sense. It's here. It is in there it is. So then where is it? Is this the right directory? There's Ansel, there's Apple. Where's app data? Cancel? Let's cancel. I mean, you can also do it this way. This is a better way to do it. App data, it's gray, which is sort of interesting. I'm a little concerned about that, but whatever. I'm just going to copy and paste this whole path. So copy it from here and paste it into there. And the slashes are weird, but let's just go ahead and properly slash it. If you're on Mac, I am jealous. You don't have to deal with this foolishness. But right, again, the process is the same. You're just trying to point it to the proper folder, okay? The same thing is true with the key store, okay? I'm not going to make the same mistake of unlinking the two, but you just want to go and find it in your file directory, wherever it is you like to save your files. And then you're going to go to, I'm going to go to this folder, right? And then you find it and just load it in, okay? Once you have done that, the final step you need to do is you need to write in this specific user phrase, Android debug key, and then this specific key store pass, Android. I don't know why you need to do that, but you do. That's just the way it goes. And if you're more advanced, you might be able to work around it. But if you are a beginner, just put in those exact words. Yeah. So make sure your settings here look vaguely like this. And again, right, we want to note that the Android SDK path is where the SDK is installed. So I did that. And then we're not going to need the rest of this. We're not going to need to do launcher icons. Because if you've done that, you should be able to successfully build and deploy Android applications. Okay, so now we're going to step back and go to the previous example, to the previous tutorial page, and we're going to walk through the deploying to Android example. Okay, so deploying to Android. We've already done all this, right? We've installed the OpenJDK, we've installed Android Studio, we've created a debug key store, and we've configured the location of the Android SDK path. This is great. Now, we're going to go ahead and set up our specific XR project for Godot 4. So what we're going to do is, first thing you want to do is you want to install the Android build template. So we go to Project, and then you just go to Install Android build template. And if you haven't done this before, it's going to say, hey, you haven't done this before, do you want to do this? And you say yes. Bada bing, bada boom. Now, you won't see anything here in the editor, but if you open it up in the file manager, you will in fact see that there is now an Android folder with build template information in it. Okay. So what you want to do now, we're going to keep on moving down. So the first thing you want to do is you want to install the OpenXR vendors plugin. That is in the asset library. So I'm going to search XR vendors, and I'm going to click on this, and I hit download. And I click install, and we're going to install all of this plugin information into our Godot project. So you hit install. Asset was successfully installed. That's great. You can see it here. There it is. This plugin is a little weird because I don't think, if we go to plugins, it doesn't appear as an actual plugin that you initialize, at least not for me. And I haven't needed to because I think it's just it just messes with the exporting settings for Android. So I think that's all you need to do. This says enable the vendors plugin, but I don't see that as an option. So I skipped that and it worked fine. So you can skip that too. But also, if you see it as a thing that you can enable, I would enable it. I think that's just a discrepancy between the written documentation and the latest version of the vendors plugin. Okay, so now let's make an Android export preset. Okay, this is what you need to do anytime you export. Anytime you export anything from Godot, if you export it to a platform, you need to make an export template, and this is just going to be an export template specifically for the MetaQuest. So we're going to go to Project, Export. Actually, let's see. Yeah. We're gonna go to project and export. And if we're not gonna have anything here, so I'm gonna click add Android. And if you haven't, if you haven't exported anything before, you might need to download and install. No, I think you're probably good. You might need to go into here and do manage export templates, and then click download, click this download and install. So if you don't see that Android button pop up, I would go to editor, export template manager, and click download and install. But I'm pretty sure also that this vendor's plugin maybe overrides that. So I don't know if you need to do that. But if you're having trouble getting to this point where we go to export and you click add and if you don't see Android here, then you might need to go do that thing that I just showed. Okay, so now we're gonna give ourselves we're gonna give our template a name. This is the name of the template, so I'll just call this Quest 3. I'm not gonna overrule any of the debug. I'm not going to give any sort of custom stuff. I am required. We already see that we have a couple errors, right? And we're going to want to start solving these errors. So one of these errors is we have to use Gradle builds for Android for the Quest building. Don't worry about what a Gradle build is. Just use it. It sounds nice, it's like Cradle or Gravy. So just go ahead and use that. Then we need to fix the texture compression. So the way you do that is you just click fix and then it fixes it. It really begs the question if you could just, why do you have to click that in order? But anyway, you just click that and it gets fixed. It's great. Then we need to give our project name, we need to specifically specify the package name. And where we do that is we go down here and we want to give ourselves a name. So you can say, it's got this weird naming convention, but I've found that you can kind of make up stuff however you want, so long as it's in this format. Maybe if you know more than me, please say so, but I think you can just make up stuff. So I'm going to do my name, Bizark, and I'll do then the name of the application. So I'll say XR demo. And that seems pretty good. I like the look of that. And so there's actually two things you can do now. You could just export the project itself. And if you click export, it will create an APK, which I'm just going to sort of save this APK to the root folder. and it's going to go ahead and start trying to build it, which is great. And this is where we're going to find out whether or not me changing any of those, if I've actually installed all the correct thingamajigs. But it looked like it said successful. I thought I saw success happen. That could be good. So let's go see if we have an APK now. There's our APK, right? And so if we were to send this to the Quest headset via Google Drive or GitHub, you could install this as an application on the Quest headset. But that's also a little bit tough. That's a tough route to go, right? It's kind of annoying. So what you can also do, which is pretty sweet, if you have successfully plugged in your Quest headset. So right now I have my Quest headset plugged in. And you also need to, well, I'll show you what you can do and then I'll show you how to do it. So if you have done a couple of extra steps, which I'll show you in a moment, you can set up remote debug. And if you have your Quest headset plugged in, all you need to do is click remote debug and click Oculus Quest, and it is going to build, and it always takes a minute when it does it for the first time. So it's thinking about it. You just kind of hang out. This is when you sort of think about your parents or the weather. I don't know. And then if it's not responding, that's when you get a little concerned. Let's see. Great. Okay, seems good. So far, so good. So in theory, what just happened is we actually built it, bundled it, and put it on the headset. Now, if I put on this headset, and I go to Hello XR, dismiss, Hello XR. It sort of works. It only sort of works for a couple of reasons. Quit the app. No. I have too many apps open, so give me a moment. I will try to show you what I'm doing in a minute. If it's working, if it's not working, you'll never see it. Quit that app. Open that app. Okay, so this is actually pretty interesting. I'll show you what it looks like. No, I'm not going to show you what it looks like because I don't even know if you're watching this. I don't know if anyone's watching this, but what I can see right now is I can see the view of the app, but I'm not actually like I can see a 2D video plane that sort of has the little squares on it, but we're not actually interacting with it, and the HMD didn't get loaded properly. So that implies that we did something sort of wrong along the way. So we're going to try it again. So maybe I was a little too excited. I sort of forgot that there's a couple steps along the way that you need to do in order to make this work. So you create the export preset. That's great. Select Android. Give it the right name. That's right. Then we need to enable these extra thingamajigs. So I'm going to go back to the export menu. I'm going to open up this tab, and we're going to continue to fill out. So this is why it's this is a great example. Read the documentation. Down in XR features, you need to switch from regular to open XR. Then we need to enable the meta plugin because it's a meta headset. We want to make sure that then when we want to go down to, let's see, we want to keep scrolling down and we want to go all the way down to the bottom of this list. These are the regular permissions you can give to Android applications, and then down here at the bottom, this is from the XR Vendors plugin. So we want to turn on optional, let's leave off eye tracking because it doesn't exist right now, but let's turn on optional hand tracking, and we'll turn on optional pass-through. Okay, and we'll make sure that that's correctly supported. I'm going to hit close, and now let's try this remote debug thing again. Okay, so I've had my headset plugged in for that. I'm going to unplug it. And yes, okay, now we are in fact in virtual reality on the Oculus Quest headset. I'll show it to you with magical casting. I'll cast to my computer. I'll hit next. I'm going to open it up on the web browser so you can see it. Here we are. Casting has resumed. Let's refresh the page. I'm not having any trouble casting. You're having trouble casting. Maybe I just need to start the app. Oh yeah, there it is. And then here we are, right? Here is our Godot app. It is fully deployed. So again, this app, if we sort of quit the app, you'll see here it is down here, and I'll sort of make it pass through. Let's just quit it entirely. Here's the application, and here it is just along all the other little meta apps, right? So we can just go ahead and open up our Godot application. We can open it up, and then here's our basic Godot application, which is pretty great because we could take this far away from our computer, and we wouldn't have to have our computer nearby. So that's nice and all. But again, you know, we're still not, this is still just basic VR. We haven't really done any pass-through. We haven't done any hand tracking. And I haven't even explained how to set up that remote debug. So I'll demo that really quickly. In order to get the remote debug set up, you just need to do all of these steps, and then again, if you scroll down, like really reading the documentation is the best way to figure out how to do this. You can learn more about one-click deploy by reading the one-click deploy documents. And specifically, if you're on the Quest, what you need to do is you need to enable developer mode. Okay, and the best way to enable developer mode is you can go to the Quest documentation, and this will show you the steps are pretty straightforward. You just need to create an organization and verify your organization. Also, if you're with SVA and you're watching this, they've already taken care of this, so you don't need to do this part. The remote debug should just work. The oven is finished. But you just need to create an organization, verify your account with two-factor authentication, and then you need to enable developer mode on the headset itself. And how you do that is you go into system settings. This is the part that I found easier to do on the mobile app. You connect. I just opened up the mobile app and went into the headset settings and turned on developer mode. And then when you plug into your headset, when you plug your headset into the PC for the first time, you're going to see this pop up, and you want to say, yes, I want to allow it to debug from this computer. Okay, and finally, if you're doing it on a Windows, you need to install these drivers for some reason. Okay, if you're not on Windows, you don't need to install these drivers. Download this zip and install these drivers. Okay. So once you've done all that, you should have this very straightforward process of being able to just edit your Godot scene. Right, let's just go ahead and, for instance, let's add an environment to our scene. So I'm going to add a world environment.
And yeah, I'm just going to add a world environment, and then I'm going to hit deploy, and then I'll go back to the cast and see if that's still alive. Looks like it is actually still kind of alive, which is exciting. And I think we're good. Yeah, and you can even see there's our new scene with our new environment, right? That's pretty great. So the process is actually really quick once you get it up and running. And now we can fly through these last two chunks of trying to get pass-through and hand tracking set up. Okay, so if we want to do pass-through, you can find a nice walkthrough on how to do pass-through here in the pass-through section of the advanced topics. And essentially, you need to configure a couple more. You need to make sure you have some things configured in your settings, and you want to add some extra code. And I really recommend reading this page if you want to understand what the code is. But I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste in the code that I have previously done that I know works. So I'm just going to save this, quit to the project list, quit. I'm going to open up this pass-through demo. And I'll note too, right, I've read somewhere that the XR tools, if you use the start XR node, that theoretically takes care of pass-through. I found that it didn't, but that's just me. So I wrote this myself. I just want to copy this. I'm going to quit back. I'm not going to save. I don't know what I even changed. Maybe just the thing. All right, so hello XR. So instead of our fundamental XR interface initialization script, I'm just going to paste in. I should probably not have gotten rid of that. I'm going to paste in this. So it's basically the same, right? We still create the interface, we initialize it, you turn off vsync, you use XR, and then I just have this extra function called enable pass-through. And this is just an if statement to see if the interface is initialized and pass-through is supported, which is just a method that is attached to, that is part of the XR server interface object. So it'll just return a boolean if pass-through is supported, and then you literally just have to say XR interface dot start pass-through. And then finally you want to make sure that the viewport has a transparent background. Yeah, that's all that I've done to change this. And the final thing you want to do is you want to go to your world environment, and instead of just having a sky, we want to go to a custom color and take the color and give it an alpha transparency. And I think that's it. I think I'm just going to save that and click Oculus Quest, deploy. We build it, we move the output, it gets built to the headset. I'm going to go back to my stream, my cast. Oh man, I wish it hadn't stopped. Sort of annoying when I have to pair it again, but I think this is going to work. Oh yeah, baby, this works. It's so exciting. It's so nice when it's easy. The headset's getting really low now, so let's speed run this. Next, computer, go ahead. Come on. Resume. Come on. I am casting. It's true that I'm casting. I'm casting. Yeah, there it is. Great. Look at that. Pass through, baby. So you just make the background invisible, and it works. And it works great. And again, right, if you just want to do this, if you just want to do very basic hand tracking, and I can convince it to see my hands, this kind of works too for hand tracking. This is, maybe this is all you need for hand tracking. That's not that speedy. Let's make it a little, I think if by making it full screen, it'll go faster. No? Hello? Right, so this is like pretty decent hand tracking. It's got position and rotation.
but it doesn't have all the nuances of finger tracking, which is really kind of where the money's at. So I'll show you briefly how to do that, and then I gotta go eat dinner. So I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna go back to Godot, gosh. And I'm gonna add 2 more nodes. I'm gonna make them children of the XR origin, not children of the controllers. I sort of thought when I did this first that you wanted them to be children of the controllers, but it's not true. We're gonna add a built-in Godot node called XR hand. Open XR hand. I'm gonna duplicate it because I have 2 hands. I'm gonna call this one left hand. I'm going to call this one right hand. Now, what you need, and this is maybe the trickiest part of the whole tutorial, you need a hand. You need a skeleton hand, and if you know how to make one of those, great. I don't know how to make one of those. I found one from this XR hand. No, XR. Let's see. I found it from this XR hand tracking toolkit, which looks great, which looks like a much more, it looks like it has pose recording and all this stuff in it. I couldn't figure out how to get that working, but it did have a fully functioning hand skeleton in it, so I just kind of took that. So I'm giving that plugin some credit. You should check it out and see if you can get it working, because maybe that'll make everything easier. But I'm just going to open up this Quest Passthrough demo and take out the hands. Let's see. I wonder if I can just copy and paste from one project to another. That would be really cool. But I don't think I can. Yeah, so here's the hand. Let's see. I think I did save them as tracked hands. Yeah, I saved them as simple hands. Okay, great. So I'm going to go to this folder, open in File Manager. I'm going to, but it doesn't have the model. Oh, it does have the model. I put it in that folder. Okay, great. I'm going to copy this whole folder. So this folder is just the scenes for the skeletons of the hands and the meshes for the hands themselves. So I'm going to quit. I'm not going to save. I'm going to open it. I'm going to open the folder. I'm going to paste this in. I'm going to go back to Godot. It's going to import these things. And then, oh, did I not have the textures? Do I need the textures? I would like to not need that. That seems like the textures. I know what you're on about. Let's pray that this just imports nicely. Look at that. That's fine. That looks fine to me. And is this going to open? Also great. Okay, so I'm just going to instance. So right, these are just skeletons with bones and collision shaped and character bodies. You can make your own. I'm just using these ones. I'll link to them in the doobly-doo. I'm going to go ahead and instance them as children of the hand nodes. They might need to be local. We'll see. We'll see if we can use an instance scene or if I need to actually have them in the scene. Then I'm going to go to the left-hand node, and I'm just going to pick it. I'm going to pick this left-hand skeleton as the hand. I'm going to go to the right hand and pick this as the... assign it to the right hand. I'm going to save it. I'm curious about where these are located. You might need to reposition them, but let's just at least see if they're sort of working. I'm going to deploy it to the Oculus. Okay, moment of truth. It would be really great to wrap this up and go eat dinner. Wow, that's pretty good. So for starters, you can't. Okay, hold on. I need to do a couple things here. There's some hilarious errors. Notably, the cubes are still floating around and blocking the hands. So we don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and disable the cubes. That's great. The hands are in fact on top of each other, but I think that's maybe because I didn't assign them properly. I think the right hand, no, that looks good. Interesting. Oh yeah, there's one other, yeah, this tripped me up the first time too. You also need to specify which hand it is. So the left hand needs to be set to the left hand, and the right hand tracker needs to be set to the right hand. All right, now we're going to save, we're going to deploy one more time. And you'll see it gets faster every time it does it. I think you just have to set up the Gradle stuff the first time. All right, we've deployed. And we now have hand. Yeah, we have hand tracking. I'll show you this stupid shit. This. If you're doing this stuff, this is your life. You know the deal. It's all dumb. Like dumb things happen all the time. It's part of the joy. All right, here we are at the cast. Refresho, expecto patrono. Let's resume. I am now casting to the web. Please, thank you. So like, it's pretty good. It's pretty good hand tracking. For some reason, this hand is rotated 90 degrees. I think that has something to do with the skeleton itself needing to be rotated. So you just, for this particular hand model, I had to rotate everything 90 degrees. I would just fiddle with this until it's right. But this is all, this works. This is pretty good. These are all collision shapes and character bodies, so if you interact with a rigid body or something, it'll interact pretty nicely. You can also do stuff like in the demo I showed originally. Like I'll show you this other demo. Here, I'll make this bigger over here. I'm gonna open up this demo, launch this one. Yes, quit that one. Open up this one. So this is, I spent some more time and I rotated the glove the correct way, and I just did that by trial and error, and you can do that too. We'll take this. I really want to show you this in another room, but then you probably won't be able to hear me. What I'll say first is I've gone ahead and attached area 3Ds to this finger and to this finger. And then it's a very simple script that when the area, like literally via signals, when the area enters another area, you can make stuff happen. So that's how you can do this basic pinch detection. And what I'll go out on is I'll go into the other room and I'll show you how I can play around with this ball. And then I'm going to quit this and go eat dinner. So I hope this was fun and enjoyable. I hope you got all the way here. And feel free to ask any questions in the comments or whatever. And have a great night. I'll see you in the metaverse. Bye. Yeah, you can find it yourself. I'll show you later. Bye. Ay, ay, ay. That was really so much explaining that I don't know if I needed to do. Thanks for making dinner.
Oh my god, wait.